Welcome to the TechIsland Podcast powered by Payabl. This is a podcast where we discuss Cyprus and its path towards becoming a tech hub and what it means for citizens, expats, and locals. My name is Tanya Romanyukha and I am General Manager of TechIsland.
And I'm Artemis Pnevmatikou. I am the Head of PR and Communications at TechIsland. And today's episode is all about the topic that affects every single one of us on our daily lives, digital transformation.
And to discuss this interesting topic with us, we have today a special guest, Deputy Minister of Research, Innovation and Digital Policy, Nicodemos Damianou.
Welcome, Deputy Minister.
Thank you for having me.
So just to start in humane way and to talk with you maybe a little bit about your background, because you are Cypriot who studied in USA.
Indeed I am, yes.
In UK, you came back.
It's been many years, but...
Yes, yes, but still, you made this decision back then to go abroad to see another world, to test the ground, and you return. So maybe let's start from the very beginning.
So if we're going to take it from the beginning, as you said, first of all, I'm a computer scientist. I'm an engineer myself. I have never been in politics before this engagement. When I decided to go abroad to study, and actually this was first in the US and then the UK for my PhD, computer science all the way. There was the University of Cyprus was just starting here, so there was no real educational establishment on the island. Yes, so a lot of Cypriots decided to make this trip to abroad to study. Now, and I like to joke about this, when it was time to come back or decide to come back, there was very little back then to guide you, to make it easy or maybe attractive for you to come here and establish your own company or become an entrepreneur. There was very little. So the culture back then was that you came back, you should aim for the banking sector or the government sector or something that will hold your ground for some time, some steady work. And it's amazing how things have changed now. And we had these Minds in Cyprus kickoff event in London. And we were talking about what's going on the island now. And there is a very striking difference between what was happening 2-3 decades ago and what's happening now. So my background is computer science. I studied in the US at an Ivy League school, Brown University, computer science, and then I decided to move closer to Cyprus. In London, Imperial College, I did my PhD. It was security management, actually. So my background is really security, computer security related. And when I came back, I did exactly what I said before. I joined a bank initially. Okay. So I spent a number of years at the bank, moving from one department to another. And then I was for 6 years before I took this post. I was the CEO or general manager, if you like, of JCC Payment Systems, which is the major payment service provider in the country. And in a nutshell, that's where my experience lies in terms of what's happened in my previous life. Now, I think this gives me a very good picture of what's going on in the market and where we need to go. It's always a big transition to move from the industry to the public sector at any level. But I think it's easier for you, if you have done that before, to jump in and be more productive or understand what needs to happen next. So that's a very, very brief in a nutshell, story of where I come from. And I'm glad to be here. And thank you for this invitation. I like the relaxed nature of this podcast. Congratulations to TechIsland for this initiative. And I think we keep forgetting how important it is to talk to the people and explain what we are doing, why we are doing it, why it takes longer than what they think it should take. Because when you talk to industry experts, the discussion becomes much easier. So that's a good opportunity to do just that.
It's true. Thank you for accepting. Actually, you are second interviewee. We had our first try with our board members. With Ugne and Stylianos, we discussed actually the idea of TechIsland and this path forward. But today is all about digitalization, digital transformation, digital services. And this is the trendiest topic for everybody. Because when we are talking about TechIsland, tech industry, nobody really understands what tech industry means. Everybody treat it like digital services, like digitalization. What we can discuss about tech industry if we guys, I don't know, bring to Mukhtaris for signatures papers.
Yes, it's a good point. It's a good point to start this discussion as well. And many thanks to payabl for hosting this, by the way.
Empowering this podcast.
Empowering this. Now, it's true that people, the citizens, when you talk about digitalization, and by the way, I prefer digital transition to digital transformation. I think it more accurately captures this gradual process that this involves. It's not something that you do and you're done. It's something that you need to maintain, especially with the pace of advancements that technologies now we're lucky to live during these periods. Now, yes, when you talk to people about digitalization for the country, for the government, they always think about digital services to the citizens, to the legal entities, maybe, and that's one dimension. The truth is, there are normally four dimensions to this. If we want to take a bird's eye view of what's going on, there's the infrastructure dimension, communications and connectivity. There's the skilling, workforce skilling and general population digital skilling aspect. Okay, imagine bringing digital services to the citizens and they are not able to use them because there's no connectivity, they cannot access them outside the big cities, or they don't have the knowledge of what it means to use these services. So these are two dimensions. E-government, digital services is of course another dimension. And then you have the business sector. How well is that? Is the business sector adopting technology? And especially and in particular emerging technology, AI, cloud, data analytics, and so on. And it's hugely important for all of these components to be aligned and work together or grow together. Of course, there are horizontal matters like cybersecurity, resilience, and what I call institutions, the set of policies and structures that will make this environment conducive to innovation and a digitally enabled economy at all levels. But that's what we should mean when we talk about digitalization for the country. It's understandable, though, that at the end of the day, the citizen wants to know that they are using technology to their benefit. So that's what they understand. I think it's a good point, and maybe this setup is ideal to just highlight a few things that have to do with the way we are approaching this matter as a nation, maybe, or as a society in Cyprus. And we are not the only ones, by the way. But with the pace of advancement in technology, this question often becomes a societal question or even a philosophical question as well. How are we pushing the boundaries too much? But what I want to raise, and I hope I'm not going to be misunderstood by our viewers, is two things. One is expectations. And I've been in this position now for a bit longer than a year and a half. And I feel that we are sometimes becoming overwhelmed with what other countries or other jurisdictions are doing, always comparing what we do with these jurisdictions, expecting to be the best of the best. Yes, there are nations that are much more advanced than what we are, and there are very good reasons, and they are not simple reasons to analyze. Okay, but this should act as not as a map, but as a compass for us. We need to interact with these ideas. We need to see what others are doing, but it doesn't mean that we can immediately apply everything that's happening in other jurisdictions, whether this is Estonia, Dubai, or Singapore, or what have you. So we need to do that, but we need to be pragmatic. We need to identify what's going on, what are the problems, have a clear plan, a clear strategy, and acknowledge the difficulties. Okay, that's one thing. And the second thing is criticism. It's understandable that when you are in a position like this, leading the digital transformation of a country, you should be and you are obliged to acknowledge the fact that you will be criticized. But I think we sometimes, and that's not only in this domain, we do it in other domains as a nation, I feel that we are getting stuck in what happened in the past, and we are overly critical without looking at what's happening. And this creates the following problem. We are conveying a constant negative message to the citizens, which creates a mistrust for them when it comes to anything that the government does, whether it is this administration or the next one or anyone else. I'm not talking about our administration in particular. That's not good. In order to proceed and manage to capture the benefits of digitalization, it's going to take some time, but you need citizens to trust what's happening and to acknowledge what's going on so that they appreciate and accept that there are steps, positive steps happening. This will make them receptive to solutions that are going to be necessarily coming in an agile manner, and not everything is going to be digitalized in just overnight. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I thought it was this is a good setting for me to do just that. I'm not sitting in front of the press right now, so this is a good opportunity to just be frank and open about it. And I think these things are making it more difficult for anyone to push forward. Mm-hmm.
Indeed, this is very important point, that digital transformation is a process. It's exactly. A progress which have started and will be going on and on, especially with AI. You also recently launched some challenges for AI government. So, and the path of technological development is outstanding. And who could ever imagine even 2 years ago, that we will be now using AI tools on an everyday
I think that changed dramatically.
Yes. Exactly that. We are discussing digital literacy skills for citizens, and we know that there are still gap. We know even it from our parents, right, and from friends and whatever. And now we need to teach people AI literacy skills as well, which is another topic of discussion, but still.
Where do you think we stand now? So if we were to ask you, so people see some things, people don't see other things, they don't understand, as we said, exactly what they should expect. They see AI, they see that they use ChatGPT every day in their work, but they still need to go to the Muhtar to get stamp,
Yes.
or they need to send papers, so how does all these combine, and where are we at the moment, and what should be the expectation exactly?
Good question. And I think we need to start educating people about what we are doing, explaining it more, and presenting the roadmap. Okay, and I think a good place to start is, and I'm going to draw an analogy here. Okay, think about how you carrying out your banking needs as a citizen before you had your mobile banking app. Okay, it was a different world, it was a different experience, and the banks managed to push forward when they managed to resolve the mechanisms to actually identify and authenticate their customers. When they did that, and there was a secure way to do that, there was a real push forward with digital banking services. That's what's happening now with the government. Okay, so the environment is much more complex, of course, but the principles are the same. So what we have done and what I am interested to do is identify those things that need to change in terms of infrastructure, in terms of system architecture, in terms of data architectures. How do we modernize all that so that we are able to deliver the best to the citizens? How do we put in place the mechanisms that will allow us to do what banking did for their customers a few years back? That's the transformational aspect of what's happening. But at the same time, we cannot pause everything. We are already late, very late. We cannot pause everything for 2-3 years to do that and then start delivering services. As I said, we are already running late and we need to start delivering some services to the citizens. So it's a two-stage process, or two processes in parallel. Planning and upgrading our infrastructure, and that's happening now. We have issued a tender for the government cloud recently. So we are moving into modern architectures, a cloud-first policy, a mobile-first policy, and soon an AI-first policy. That's the vision. But at the same time, we have launched initiatives under the umbrella a program that we call Digital Citizen, simple tools that are going to be used to start pushing simple services to the citizens. So that umbrella, by the way, before I proceed with what's happening with regards to digital services, it has four components. One is a digital citizen app, where you are able, as a Cyprus citizen, to maintain the digital copy of your official documents, 3 official documents, and now we have the fan card as well. We know that we need to include English language on that as well, since we're here, and that's happening very soon. For example, in Greece, they never introduced English language. It's a different environment, though.
It's a different population as well.
It's a different sort of society. So for us, it's becoming important. But that's one tool, okay? And by the way, that's picking up now. We have more than 120 registered users on that, 120,000 registered users, which is an important number, and it's going to go up because we will be introducing tickets for entering sports events soon, but within the year. So that's going to be important. That's one component. The other component is a digital assistant, and the first gen AI tool, ChatGPT type of tool in the government. And we are adding thematic areas on that. The latest was related to tax, 20 areas related to tax, which is the number one thematic area being asked now. But we are reaching 700 to 800 questions per day. So people are starting to use that. The third component is the EID. Okay, so digital signature, electronic signature. And the fourth component is the new GovCY central government portal, which is now fully cloud-based. It's the first end-to-end cloud-based system of the government. So while we are upgrading the infrastructure, while we are introducing large-scale vertical systems, and we can go through that. It's good for people to know what's happening and what's coming in 2026. That's the horizon where I expect to see most of our digitization efforts bearing fruit. We are also introducing some digital services, and on GovCY, by the end of the year, let's say since 2024, so approximately in a period of a bit more than 18 months, we will be introducing 100 digital services. And that includes, and I have my cheat sheet here so I don't forget some examples, civil registry digital services. You don't need to go to the citizen service centers to renew your ID, your passport, to request
driver license.
Your driver license is a different thing. It's coming with a new system for the road transport department, but it's in the pipeline to issue your permanent residence certificates or your birth certificate or update your personal details and so on. There's a range of services there. A number of social welfare services as well. You can do them online.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you.
Please go ahead.
What are the social welfare services?
So one example, and that was the first digital service that came out, was minimum guaranteed income, the application for that. For those who are, the services were simplified and transformed digitally. The subsidy scheme for accommodation and care in elderly homes was another one.
And maternity, I suppose?
Yes, that falls under social insurance, apply for a birth grant, maternity allowance, parental leave benefit, sickness benefit, unemployment benefit. All of that is, you can do it online now. Okay. And there's a number of other services, including the services that we are introducing gradually through the new school management system, for example. So this was the first year where the registration for all grades of school happened online. Okay, so
private and public.
Only
public.
Public. We're talking about public, and that system, the new school management system, is going to be the integrated system where we maintain the profile of each student, their grades, their assessment, and so on. This is being rolled out, and already we have 66 or 67,000 students registered on that.
Okay.
So this is part of what's happening, and people don't know about all of that. Okay. There's a list of these actions underway, but still, as I said, we need to educate people that all of this is happening. I think I'm going to stop here to give you an opportunity to ask me questions.
Yes, I also wanted just to make a note that actually trust happens when people understand.
Yes,
when
of course.
That's what I wanted to say in the beginning, and you said it in one brief sentence.
Yes.
Thank you for that. They need to understand, but we need to let them understand. We should not bombard them with negative comments all the time. There's things happening now. I think we are in a very different path to what we were before. And we need to allow them to absorb that, to accept that, and to feel good about it so that they can judge us on the merits of each digital service and not on the general comment that nothing is happening in Cyprus. A lot is happening, and we are not the worst country in the world in terms of digitalization like people sometimes think we are.
And how will you solve the resistance of society into providing the personal data? Because what you have cybersecurity background and infrastructure is very important, and all this security, privacy challenges, they are existing, and it's interesting to understand what are these challenges and how you will handle this resistance, especially of elderly people to provide to the government full data and register somewhere?
Excellent question. It sums up what I was trying to explain in the beginning as well, or build on that actually. It's not an easy equation to solve, and it also has deep roots in each society that are not always easy to change. Let me give you an example. Estonia, for example, in Estonia, you can vote online. Okay? That's the only country, by the way, where you can vote online currently. I can tell you, and I'm an engineer, and I can guarantee that we have the solution to implement that by 2028 when we have presidential elections. Can we deploy it, you think?
Not because of the digital illiteracy, I would assume.
Not only because of that. Nobody is going to believe any government that they're not monitoring who is voting what. It's not a technology problem. It's a cultural problem, okay? And that comes into play as we move along this path of technology evolution. And we are not the only country to face that, by the way. As I said, people think that there are many countries where you can do that. Only in Estonia can you do that, okay? And that's why they were built initially from scratch, let's say, in simplistic terms, with digitization in the mindset, and they trusted technology, okay? In Finland, they feel that they are obliged to pay their taxes. The tax department sends humorous emails and messages to the people when they forget to pay their taxes, and they are very receptive to that. I don't know what's going to happen if our tax department sends humorous emails to our citizens. I mean, next day it's going to be hell in the media. Yes. Okay, so it depends on your culture, and our culture, and we are not the only nation to face that, does not allow for that. It's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of time. But talking about the elderly, that also becomes a skilling issue. It also becomes an enablement issue. So we are not going to be forcing digital solutions to everyone. Okay, we're going to maintain the traditional channels of people who need to use them because they cannot currently use technology or whatever. But they need to know, or they will have to go through the old-fashioned way of being serviced. I think that should be the right approach, while at the same time we need to accelerate the skilling issue, and that's not an easy one. We have to admit that compared to the rest of Europe, we are behind the European average in terms of basic digital skills, despite the fact that we rank very highly in terms of usage of social media, internet, and so on. Okay.
What would you say is the basic, when we say basic digital skills, what exactly can you give us an example?
Basic digital skills in simplistic terms is using my mobile to browse the internet as well, my tablet, knowing how to use office applications, nothing too fancy, but feeling comfortable to use basic technology tools. That's and we are currently at 50%, let's call it even, but the average in Europe is 55, and the average should not be the goal anyway. So we are a small nation. We need to find the ways to educate people. However, do you know that based on what the work that my ministry is doing, there are courses out there for individuals, for companies as well. There are, I think, 17 courses related to AI related or new technologies related, and people don't know about them. So I think we need to advertise what's happening, and we need to educate people. And there are interesting ways and clever ways to do that. But there are also more important reforms that need to take place as well. So that would be my answer to what you're saying. It's interesting. Go ahead.
I would say also that it's not only about citizens, but also about employees of the
Absolutely.
government.
Yes.
When you
Absolutely.
ongoing the digital transformation, when you launch so many services, when you will introduce all that new systems in place, it's about changing the mindset, changing how people work, how people interact with all these systems. And it's interesting also how will you teach employees of the government, and will it be different department with different requirements, or will you train existing employees? How this will all work together?
Again, I'm gonna take you back a few years, and because that's an interesting one, and that's a very challenging one as well. So if you look at what happened when, let's say, the third industrial revolution picked up and government started adopting technology, they didn't do that from the point of view of servicing the citizen. They did that from the point of view of the government official. That not our government. Most governments did that. Okay, that was a mindset back then. Now, that's one parameter. The second one is there is a misconception that governments do not live in a competitive environment the same way businesses do. So there's no customer to service, there's no urgency. Okay, completely false, because we have the most demanding customers, all of the citizens and all of the legal entities. Okay, so that's another parameter. A third parameter is that there's no way to incentivize public officials, public sector employees. They live under a strongly unionized environment that has a very structured way of compensation and rewards. So that's another problem. And then all of that leads to a conception over the years that the public sector world is uniquely complex, uniquely complicated, and it's okay to take too long to implement something. Okay, there's no urgency, first of all, and of course we will have to follow our procedures. And I say that unless we apply the same techniques, the same mechanisms, the same processes, the same tools that the industry uses to design systems, to implement systems, and to deploy systems, we are going to be stuck in a loop. So all of that creates a very unique mindset that is not easy to change. However, there is capacity within the public sector, let me emphasize that, to push forward, okay? And what we are doing is we are working on cross-ministerial teams to break silos, to change mindsets. My ministry is responsible to approve and discuss and challenge any new ideas for digitalization or any needs on that respect. Up to a few years ago, what happened was that any department that needed something, they went on their own without any special analysis, without a common architecture or any strategy in place, and they implemented in an isolated manner the need. Now we challenge it, we discuss it. What is the goal? Where do you want to go? What can we include in that system that is not currently being done but can be benefit a couple of years down the road? How can we combine that system with something that is already existing or something else that is being designed? So all of that, I think, is changing the mindset. There is a training program in place, okay, as well, internally across the government. And in collaboration with Microsoft, we will be starting, I think from the end of this month, rolling out Copilot as part of our enterprise agreement. We will start with 300 employees. These will be the teams closer to the minister office. Okay, the
Copilot, you mean the AI
tool of Microsoft,
which
yes,
will be embedded into the operations?
Exactly, that's the goal. So we start doing that from this month, beginning of next month. We are doing this initial rollout to 300 employees selected by the ministers, okay? And then we will be slowly rolling out Copilot across That's an important step for us. And all of this is changing the way that we perceive as a government, we perceive the digitization process that needs to take place.
So far, was it allowed for public servants to use some kind of AI tool to do their everyday job? Or is it not allowed because of...
We have been, my ministry will be issuing a policy very soon to guide that process. Like any other organization, people naturally go ahead and use tools. We have been careful to restrict access to certain LLMs or certain tools that we feel should not be used at all. But everyone is free to use their own, maybe on their mobile phone or anywhere else. So there's no policy currently, but we are working on one. But exactly because of the risks involved, we want to streamline that. And hence we are going to be working with Microsoft to do that as part of our enterprise rollout of Microsoft 365, which is an integrated suite, as you know. It doesn't mean
I assume that Microsoft will do this all AI training, literacy skills,
Microsoft will be doing the
guidelines.
training for that, which is important. And then we are also introducing programs that force our teams to think innovation. So the AI for government that we have started rolling out through the RIF is doing exactly that. What happens before we issue the course? Okay, my ministry is engaging with other ministries to identify challenges that we have as a public sector that can be solved not with out-of-the-box solutions, but with innovative AI-based solutions. So this process, of course, creates this mindset. There is innovation capacity within the public sector, despite the challenges that I mentioned in the beginning, and we want to structure that, and that's also the job of the chief scientist. Okay, he's going to be doing exactly that, creating an inter-ministerial team that will drive innovation in each of the ministries. It's not an easy task, but
what is it exactly, drive innovation in each of the ministry? How this practically works? Is it workshops on
we haven't really
design thinking, or how is this working?
Yes, why not? So we haven't really started exercising it in a structured manner, but that's exactly what we're planning. And as I said, this is something that is going to be driven by is under the mandate of the chief scientist in collaboration with our ministry. So create teams in each ministry that will think of how to bring innovation in what the ministry is doing internally or in terms of offering services to the outside world. And this is partly where these challenges for AI, for the program AI in government come from, okay? From these sort of discussions.
This was an amazing move by the government, by the way, because even though we're discussing that we fall behind in digital transformations according to expectations of society, having already into conversation into AI and checking into challenges and receiving all these ideas and solutions, it can really accelerate faster and
absolutely
we can catch the wave.
And we should actually. Yes. And let me not be misunderstood. I mentioned some challenges that we have as society, as a nation, that is making it more difficult to pass on the message and gain the trust of citizens. But the truth is that, yes, we have fallen behind. Yes, we are working on legacy architecture and infrastructure. We need to modernize all that. We need to change them. We need to move to agile development and deployment methodologies. And we are doing that through the DSF, the Digital Service Factory process that we have established. Is not working fully yet as much as I would like it to be, but we are upgrading it. And that's going to be a substantial way of doing of deploying projects, implementing projects, and so on. So there is a lot of ground to cover. We have fallen behind. So I'm not saying that we haven't, everything is fine. There's a lot of work to be done. But what I'm saying is that we need to maintain a balance, because unless we gain the trust of the citizens, even if we move to a very high degree of digitization, we are always going to have challenges to face. Okay, people trust the global tech companies and the social media platforms, but they don't trust the governments many times. I may trust you to sell me something, okay, without even signing anything, okay, but I don't trust the government unless I don't know what. So this is a societal problem again, and talking about bureaucracy, which is what we want to change, again, it's not a technology problem. Technology is there to facilitate it, but it's a procedural problem. And if you've been watching what's happening with this administration, we are focusing a lot on reforms, horizontal reforms, maybe not directly and visibly touching digitization, but creating the underlying parameters or environment that will allow us to push forward, because we are running a country largely based on 1960 legislation. Okay, we need to modernize all that. We need to change all that, and this is happening by this government. So I think I'm taking something that you say and I
No, that's
blow
great.
it up, but you can interrupt me at any time. So
I have a small question. Was for you personally, you travel a lot, you speak to a lot of other ministers of innovation and other countries who have already done digitalization, or they're in a different step, let's say. Is there anything that you feel that we should be taking as example, or like a specific process? Is there anything that you personally feel that would be a game changer for society?
as I said, none of these examples are the absolute map for us. They are the compass that will show us where we need to look. Okay, and we have very good bilateral relationships with many countries, European, but also Southern countries, the UAE, the Saudi, and so on. There's many countries that I envy personally, and that I think we should take examples from, but it's not about that. Okay, it's about analyzing where you stand, what you need to do, and pushing forward. I think we know what we need to do largely. Okay, we know. It's a matter of implementing it, pushing forward implementation. I think that would be the best answer. There's many things that need to be done across many dimensions. That's why we have collaborated with the government of Greece, for example, not just because we are like-minded or the same nation overall, but because we could take ideas and quickly implement our digital citizen app based on the framework for GovGR wallet, which was a success in Greece. So we are doing the same with other countries. We are implementing things in collaboration with the Austrian government, for example. We have designed our EID initially. I wasn't in the government with Estonia. So these things are happening. And it's important to continue to draw examples. We live in the world of AI, and you cannot do it alone. You need to collaborate. You need to be part of global consortia in that respect. Okay, so
in this collaboration between private sector, public sector, because you're coming from private sector, and I'm sure from what I hear from you, I'm sure that you brought many practical things from private sector which are adopted now by your ministry and across all the ministries. But what one thing, or maybe not one thing, private sector needs to understand on how government works, and to make the collaboration more effective and better? And maybe they don't understand now, and you see that there is this gap of understanding.
I think there's two levels of collaboration. One is how do we implement our systems today, and whether there is a misconception that we are still stuck on implementing systems internally and maybe not reaching out to the industry enough. That's wrong, okay? And in any case, my philosophy is that you do not build capacity internally to build, implement, and maintain systems on your own. You reach out to the experts to help you do that. Of course, we live under the European, the very strict framework of European procurement for services and systems. That's what we need to tackle. It's taking too long from inception to delivery or to assignment even, okay? But that's happening, and we are collaborating with the industry. We want the industry we want to invite the industry to be more active in terms of these tenders. And in that respect, for smaller scale implementations, we have what I mentioned earlier, the DSF, the Digital Services Factory Framework, and that invites smaller scale challenges that are issued as small tenders to a predefined and pre-agreed or pre-selected group of companies that are pre-approved and can apply for this. So it's a much quicker process of assigning the industry to do the work. What we should aim for is an interoperable data transfer mechanism that opens up the systems of the government so that the private companies can connect to those systems in a secure and reliable manner, following GDPR and everything, okay, to offer and create products and offer services to the citizens. I mentioned a number of digital services that we are offering. These were just examples. As I said, by the end of this year and over the past 18 so months, we will be delivering 100 of these services. However, these are isolated services. So I give you the option not to come physically, not to bring all the paperwork with you. You can do that online and so on. But what happens after? I issue an ID, I issue a certificate, but that's for you to use in the physical world. How do you use that with your banking provider, with your telecom provider, with your energy provider soon, because we're opening the market? So if we create that sort of interactions with the government being in the center and the single source of truth, okay, that would be the true game changer, and that would be the true integration between private sector and the government, okay? But we fully realize, and at least that's my philosophy, but I don't think that there is any pushback in my ministry in that respect, that we cannot do it alone. We are not planning on doing this alone. We want to collaborate with the experts, let's say the industry. These are potentially other countries that have done it before, and they can bring expertise in terms of the e-government perspective, but that's what we are aiming for.
This is a very interesting angle you put forward, and it's interesting. Where do we stand in terms of this second area of government being the main hub for data and companies building on it? Because I have even my personal, very practical, very simple example. When 4 years ago I relocated, and I was driving in the highway and no, I was driving in the sea road and saw that camera catched me and most probably there is a fine. And I was like, okay, where do I check my fines? What is the system? I texted in our chat, because this is the closest Cypriots to me whom I can ask simple questions. I'm like, guys, how do I check my fines? Where is the system? Because in Ukraine, we have this possibility of startups to using through API data and releasing services. And in Ukraine, even with fines, your bank can notify you that there is a fine. Do you want to pay it now? Basically, it's already that much interconnected that you don't need even to go somewhere and check if you have this fine. Bank notifies you, you just accept, and this is
and
it.
you pay it as well.
And the only solution which Marius, my colleague, brought me, he said, I think in GCC you can
go
and pay your fine. I like, yeah, I can pay there, but where do I check if I have others? And
my outstanding fines. And that's a good example of the integration that I am describing, because let me take a step back. We are introducing more than 10 or 15 new systems. So apart from these digital services that we are doing now, there's going to be large-scale systems like the road transport management system, like the legal entities, the register of companies, the new system, the tax for all that is being rolled out gradually. There's so many systems out there that are coming, starting from this year, all the way through 2026. However, the strategic and the architectural implementation of integrating that with the rest of the industry is we are starting the design now. We don't have progress yet to show for that. But that's why what I'm doing is we are engaging with the banking sector, we are engaging with the insurance sector, with telecoms, and we are asking them to join us to design together use cases. Okay, so it's also a culture thing. Okay, we haven't opened up the systems enough to do this sort of collaboration. And despite the fact that we are a small country, we haven't focused on building cross-country backbone services. Okay, payment services, for example. Recently, we had Prime Minister Modi visiting the Indian Prime Minister. India is a 1.4 billion population, and they have a backbone payment service, UPI, that makes it very easy for any provider to come and implement payments across the country and so on. We are a 1 million population, and we didn't manage all these years to do that. So I want the government to act as a catalyst in that respect. And this would be the goal for the next 2 to 3 years, I think.
And this came up to me as so basically we have technology that you need to build from scratch and systems that you need to put forward from scratch. But there's also the stuff that was done before that it's no longer up to date, that it's legacy systems. So I'm sure many people have different pain points, but I will give as an example, maybe it doesn't even fall under the government, but when you go to the airport and you have to check your passport in those machines, and then you have to go past you have an X, okay, no, you go there. So it creates sort of a worse mess than it was before. Yeah. So how do we fix even the legacy systems? Is there
It's a gradual process. It's a gradual process. So all these systems that I mentioned, and I mentioned some of them here, are going to be replacing existing systems. Okay. Now, it's our job then to make sure that there is interoperability across these systems, which is a common pain point and a common source of problems for the citizens. So the citizens are often complaining about having to submit duplicate documentation across different departments for the same documentation for different purposes. Documentation for things that the government should have already the documents. Birth certificate, for example. If I can identify you and know who you are, I can find your birth certificate. I don't need you to submit it to me. And these sort of problems, these are architectural problems that we need to fix, and we are working on those. one example is introducing a unique mechanism for identifying and authenticating citizens. I mentioned before the example of banks. Until they found this solution, they couldn't really push forward with digital solutions. So in our case, it's CY login. And CY login is a mechanism that does that. And we have, I was looking at the numbers, there's a huge increase over the past few months. We have more than 470,000 authenticated profiles, citizen profiles on CY login. This is the unique mechanism that we use for access to any new system, any digital service. So once I know who you are, okay, then I can start doing that. And introducing new systems is going to make it easier because the architecture is new, the technology is new, so we can tap onto these systems and implement these front-end services that would make it easier for citizens. But it's a gradual process. That's why I said we need to explain to people that it's not an easy process. It would take long, but at the same time, we are introducing services, and we will continue to do so in an accelerated manner. Last year, we introduced 30 new services. This year, it's going to be 70. And next year, it's going to be a lot more because we're going to be introducing these vertical systems across. And there are also some backbone systems. I mentioned the lack of backbone services. Smart Cyprus, we announced it in July. It's finally starting. It's one of those platform-based backbone services. So this is going to be a smart city solution for the entire for the whole of the country, not for each city separately. So this is going to be unique. This is going to, at the end of the day, as a citizen, you're going to have a smart citizen app, okay? And on that app, you will be receiving services related to the broader local government or country. So you will be able to see available parking spots across the Cyprus, the whole of the country, not just
public parkings, or you're going to
incorporate
private?
anything. We can
okay.
incorporate anything. It's going to be a smart city platform, but not in an isolated manner. We're going to be consolidating all the efforts that have been done by various cities for smart city solutions, which haven't really picked up to where they should, under one umbrella. Okay, so there's going to be smart lights, smart waste management, and smart parking to start with, but we are also starting to introduce the water meters, the smart water meters that are being rolled out by local district government authorities, and also the smart meters for energy that the electricity authority is introducing. So on this app, by mid next year or maybe September next year, you will be able to see as a citizen your electricity consumption, your water consumption, the available parking spaces, and you can, the sky is the limit in terms of what sort of smart solutions you can incorporate. Any smart sort of sensor that you can deploy can potentially be a solution that is going to be integrated on this platform. And this is, as I said, we initiated the project after 3 or 4 years in the process of design and procurement, and I'm very hopeful with that. So that's another example. Yes.
What was the last time when you personally used some of the digital services, and what was the digital service?
I like to open the digital citizen app every now and then just to make sure that it's working. But look, I have used these citizen apps, citizen services that I mentioned before when my ID expired recently. I use the digital service instead of going to the citizen service department, and I think it's very useful for people. As I said, this is level 1 of digitalization. These are isolated for now. When they will become really useful when we create this integration with the rest of the industry and other organizations. The example you said about the fines, for example. And this is going to take time, and this is going to take a push from the private sector as well. We're going to be introducing solutions, but we need the industry to join us and work with us to implement these sort of integrations.
So if we asked you to fast forward to, let's say, 2030, 5 years from now, with the way AI is going, without the way technology is going, can you tell us, can you describe to us a day in a Cypriot's life using all this technology that you will be...
Or what scene comes into your mind?
Yes.
I think you expect me to say something very exciting and very...
Of course.
Of course.
Yes.
Your daughters, for example.
Make us excited about it.
like embedding AI systems in our wearables, even in our contact lenses.
But you know that Apple recently made a new rollout of headphones which with translation.
Exactly. So I was going to say something similar. I have a problem. I remember faces, but I don't remember names. That can be very embarrassing sometimes. You can imagine. So I'm looking forward to the day when it is embedded in my wearables or my contact lenses, and I can see you, and it will say, Tanya, I don't know, and the place and the date where we met. So, but I'm going to resist that urge to give you something too exciting. I'm going to say 2030 is around the corner, is 4 years from now, but at the same time is ages away in terms of the pace with which technology is progressing, especially if we talk about what we collectively call AI. Okay, so I think the number one priority for us should be to make sure that this time we are ready. We are ready with our workforce. We are ready with skilling. We are ready with our schools integrating, being more integrated into the workforce needs. And we are ready with the architecture and the technology that we have as a public sector so that we can take advantage of what's coming. Nobody knows what's coming, I think. And these are exciting times. So modernizing this infrastructure, that I said we are doing now, bringing all these systems and enabling this integration with the rest of the industry, that would give tremendous benefit to the citizens and to the companies. That would change the way we interact. You know, I mentioned Finland before with the example of the tax. Now, Finland is now moving, and by the way, they consistently rank #1 country in the world happiness report. Okay, so they are moving from digitalization into what they call humane digitalization. So bringing true value to what the citizen is doing in their everyday life. So that should be the goal, okay? Basic stuff, making it work, building the systems, modern architectures, AI first, being able to deliver this service and have this integrated digital economy with the government being the single source of truth. That would be, I think, the ideal for me.
Perfect.
Deputy Minister, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for helping us understand what's happening, what is the progress, where are we going, what is the vision. It was interesting conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure. I didn't realize the time
Passed.
Yes. It's almost 3.
It's almost 3.
But thank you again. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
This is just the beginning, and future episodes will dive into topics like artificial intelligence, the jobs of the future, women in tech, and entrepreneurship.
Thanks again to Payabl for powering this podcast, and thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time.